The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to think and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, tokers and tokettes, and welcome to the weekend. It is Friday, March 25th, 2011, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for this Friday show, the last Friday of March, and boy, we got plenty of stuff to get to, so let's get right to it. First of all, let's visit with our engineer, Ganja John.
What's up, Russ?
You're up in about 5 hours or so.
That's
7
true.
hours, the Ganja John show, 8 o'clock Pacific.
Yes, it's going to be a fun time, guys.
I'm digging the shirt, too.
You like this?
Yeah, retro Soviet Union gear.
Yeah, I'm wearing some Soviet Union hockey gear. You can check out the back, too. I got a number.
Oh, you've got a number 20.
Yeah.
All right, very good, very
420.
good. 420. They couldn't fit all the digits on. Also joining us from our virtual studio in beautiful Grass Storia, Oregon, is Cannabis Carrie.
Hello, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Carrie. How's your weekend?
Oh, it's going to be great. The weather's going to be nice, and I hope to spend a little bit of time outside.
Good. Hey, I want to encourage everyone, if you're going to be here in the Portland area this Saturday, there's a great class on cooking with cannabis, and it's one of our own, Yellow Wanna Cake from the chat room. She's teaching the class at Alternative Medical Choices. To get more information on the class and how you can sign up, just visit altmedchoices.com. Coming up on today's show, we've got some Rockin' Friday music for you. Herb Thrasher's calling in, and he's got a band called Greenleaf. Sounds like the perfect band name for this show, and we'll talk to him about that at 20 after the hour. And then at half past the hour, it's the day you've all been waiting for, fourth Friday of the month, where we bring in High Times Magazine senior cultivation editor Danny Danko. He'll be joining us at half past, taking your live cultivation questions at 971-533-7111 or through our chat room at stickem.com/NORML Show Live. But before we get to all of that, we've got our hemp headlines with Cannabis Carrie. What's in the news today?
Well, today we're going to cover a case where a charity doesn't want a donation from a dispensary. We're going to cover some Montana legislation. I'm going to revisit a bear story that I first reported on last June. Not Canadian, though. Oh. But first up, we love us celebrities that token tell, so we're going to start with that one.
Oh, celebrities that token tell. This is going to be a good one. We're looking forward to it. Hey, folks, stay tuned. It's NORML Show Live, and coming up later, the NORML Network. We got all sorts of great shows that you can check out. Hollywood Hemptress will come right after Toker Talk Radio, Hotbox Podcast from Big Sky Country, John Doe Radio, and more. Check it out at stash.norml.org.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
In today's busy world, we're inundated by advertising for all types of pharmaceuticals that come with a laundry list of potential side effects. Shouldn't you have better medical choices? Natural alternatives to pills pushed by Big Pharma? At Alternative Medical Choices, you could choose natural, safe, and effective alternative therapies that are right for your budget without nasty side effects. Cannabis, or marijuana, has been a legal medicine in the Pacific Northwest since 1998. Our doctors will help determine your qualifications for a medical marijuana recommendation in Oregon, no matter where you live. Our massage therapists will ease your aches and stress with soothing hemp seed oil or cannabis-infused massage salves. We also offer acupuncture, Reiki, and other alternative health therapies. Call Alternative Medical Choices in Portland, Oregon at 503-288-5579 or visit our website at www.altmedchoices.com. We specialize in out-of-state recommendations. That's www.altmedchoices.com or call 503-288-5579.
NORML National Conference 2011, Denver, Colorado, April 21st through 23rd.
I'm not a crook.
When President Nixon declared war on marijuana smokers, NORML was founded by a young lawyer named Keith Strupp. And now, in our 40th year, NORML is coming of age as states begin discussing outright marijuana legalization.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Join us in Denver, Colorado, the day after 420 for our 40th annual national conference. You'll learn about marijuana law, cannabis science, and the grassroots activism necessary to end prohibition. Set in the Mile High City, America's cannabis capital. Special guests include medical marijuana pioneer and Harvard emeritus Dr. Lester Grinspoon, U.S. Congressman Jared Polis, and NORML founder Keith Strupp. NORML National Conference 2011, coming of age in Denver, Colorado, April 21st through 23rd. It's the true Rocky Mountain High.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
Whoopi Goldberg won an Oscar for the Best Supporting Actress in 1991 for her work in the movie Ghost. Now a video has surfaced on the web from a taped conversation she had in 1992 about her win, where she admits to smoking a joint before the ceremony and being high while giving her Oscar acceptance speech. The recording was done during a break as she was working on the voiceover work for the animated movie The Pagemaster. Now, I love her work, so I wanted just to hear the whole entire clip. I edited it down a bit of her first accepting her Oscar while high and then talking about it. Here you go.
And the Oscar goes to Whoopi Goldberg.
Thanks. Ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted this. You don't know. My mom's home, everybody's watching. I had to thank Patrick Swayze, who's a stand-up guy, and went to them and said, I want to do it with her. I want to thank Demi. I want to thank everybody who makes movies. I come from New York. As a little kid, I lived in the projects. And you're the people I watched. You're the people who made me want to be an actor. I'm so proud to be here. I'm proud to be an actor. And I'm going to keep on acting. And thank you so much. You know, I learned a great lesson, though. Never smoke pot before there's the possibility of having to talk to 100 million people. You know, it's smoking cigarettes and pot every now and then are my habits. And so I thought, I've got to relax. So I smoked this wonderful joint that was the last of my homegrown. And honey, when he said my name and I popped up, I thought, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Okay, up the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, around to the podium. There's millions of people. Pick up the statue, get the statue. Okay. My mother called me and she said, you smoked, didn't you? I said, well, I said, yeah. She said, your eyes were just as glistening. And I said, oh, fine, panic. So I got that tape, the Oscar tape, to see whether or not you could tell. And you couldn't. I couldn't tell. She just panicked me. She said, you know.
Mothers know.
They do know. You can only have to think about lighting it.
They know.
I know you're not supposed to admit that you smoke pot, but I don't drink alcohol. So that's my head. That's right. You may not show that.
Quick, just say no.
We won't, sir. Well, just because I do it doesn't mean you should. You know?
That's a great clip, Carrie. Thanks for bringing it to us.
And a Denver medical marijuana dispensary decided to hold a food drive to try and give back to the community. Urban Cannabis planned to give out free joints to medical marijuana patients who brought in 4 cans of food for the local food bank. They set their goal for the program that they called Cans for Cones to reach a ton of donated food. That's anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 cans of food collected. The program began on March 1st, and they plan to run the food drive until April 20th or until they reach their 1-ton goal. Any medical marijuana patient can take 4 cans of food into their business to receive their free joint that is rolled daily from the center's organic, high-end, homegrown strains, including their premium proprietary strain, Harlequin. Amy DeLulo, the sales director for Urban Cannabis, said it was a great way to let people know about the vision of their dispensary since they are small and they don't have a budget for advertising. They wanted to have a pay-it-forward type of event where they inspire patients and centers to give back to the city of Denver. The dispensary prearranged partnering with 2 local food pantries, ACTS and Metro Caring, in their efforts. They sent out a press release with the words partnering and the dispensary's name, and that word seemed to spark a debate. On Monday, Metro Caring terminated their donation relationship with Urban Cannabis due to objections from several donors from faith-based organizations. DeLulo told the Denver Westward that one of the directors that she had been working with said the food bank received copious amounts of calls from faith groups and other conservative groups that also donate to their organization, voicing strong complaints that they were listed as donors along with the dispensary. DeLulo said as she spoke further with the director that the problem seemed to be centered around the word cannabis in their business name. The food bank no longer wanted their name associated with Urban Cannabis in any publication whatsoever. It meant that they were rejecting the food collected for them from the dispensary. She said she was pretty depressed about the development in their program until someone from a faith-based organization came in and gave them 100 pounds of potatoes and 50 pounds of oranges. The person also came in with 4 cans of food. He was also a medical marijuana patient. DeLulo calls his gift Christian charity at its finest. The potatoes and oranges, along with about 500 cans of food, were sent to the ACTS program, and DeLulo is excited again about reaching their goal. She holds no hard feelings about Metro Caring and said the director was pleased that all of the donated food would go to a good use.
Well, we can't be accepting tons of food for hungry people if it came from potheads. Why, that's something Christ might do. Oh, how disgusting is this? You know, look, these are legitimate businesses. And they are legitimately operating here, and they are raising awareness and getting donations to help hungry people. It doesn't matter where that food is coming from, if it's legitimate, if it's legal, and the people accept it. The people voted for medical marijuana. You're casting a moral judgment here, and the cost of your moral judgment is people not getting food. That does not sound to me like something a faith-based group would want to be very proud of.
A bill in Montana to overturn the current medical marijuana program and replace it with one that has much tighter restrictions and regulations got its very first reading in the Senate today. Senate Bill 423 is now in the Senate Judiciary Committee. The bill's sponsor, Republican Senate Majority Leader Jeff Essman, says that the measure will reduce the number of legal marijuana users from the current of more than 28,000 to around 2,000. Supporters of the bill say that the bill is a good first step to assure that medical marijuana use is only used by legitimate patients, but says that the proposal may need to be strengthened even further. Patient advocates worry about making 26,000 Montana citizens, with the passage of such a bill, criminals. We will keep you informed about any developments in Senate Bill 423 and remind those from Montana to please contact your local representatives.
This bill would decimate the medical marijuana program in Montana, and I mean that word literally, decimate. Decimate means to remove by a factor of 10, to reduce by a factor of 10. They're going to go from 28,000 patients to 2,000 or so, and so those 26,000 who were legal patients, they're going to stop, right? They're not going to use cannabis anymore because the state says so, right? Oh, well, I'm not legal anymore. Well, I'll just stop. No, that's not what's going to happen for most of them. They're going to continue to be patients. They're going to continue to use cannabis. And all you're going to do is create 26,000 criminals where no criminals need be. this idea that so many patients represents abuse is it's just mind-boggling to me when we have this miracle plant, this treatment that people can take that is low in side effects and very high in relief, and people can use it safely. That's something we should encourage more people to want to use. We should encourage people to get off of the dangerous toxic pharmaceuticals and on to a natural, non-toxic, very low-risk herb. It makes no sense to think that more people wanting that is a bad thing.
And just a quick breaking news announcement. New Jersey's health commissioner submitted her resignation to Governor Chris Christie today, citing an urgent illness in her family. Poonam Malai has been in the center storm of the contentious policy decisions over implementing the state's medical marijuana law. The 46-year-old said that it has been a great privilege to serve under Christie. Before becoming the state's health commissioner, she was an internist specializing in vascular disease and then the executive director of Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. She said that having strict rules in the medical marijuana program was necessary to ensure that only the sickest patients get medical marijuana, and so that the law doesn't fuel underground illegal activity. Christie immediately said he would nominate Deputy Commissioner Mary O'Dowd to succeed Alay, and the resignation came as a surprise to everyone today.
Well, it shouldn't be surprising with what Governor Christie's trying to do here. Anybody that's got a conscience, anyone that's got a soul, anyone that cares about medical marijuana patients couldn't stand to work under these restrictions, under this obvious Machiavellian attempt by Governor Christie to subvert a law that was passed by his predecessor. So good on you for resigning.
And I wanted to report a conclusion about a case that we first reported on here on the Stash on June 7th of last year. See if you can remember this one, Russ. A Montana man who was occasionally paid to help out a nature park decided to feed one of the grizzly bears right after finishing smoking a joint. Brock Hopkins was severely injured when a giant grizzly named Red attacked him. He suffered damage to his legs as he crawled under a fence to get away from the bear, including a detached kneecap. He incurred about $70,000 in medical expenses, but his employer tried to dispute the claim, saying that it was his fault because he was under the influence of marijuana. His initial workers' comp claim was denied, then overturned, then the denial was upheld, but on Tuesday, a Supreme Court ruling overturned that decision, and now the highest court in the state has agreed that it wasn't the marijuana use that caused the bear attack. The judge in the case called the bear an equal opportunity mauler. A long drawn-out case began with the 2007 mauling and is now ending with Hopkins, who will be paid about $35,000 in discounted medical bill compensation. Now, he lives in Montana, and I know that they are tightening up there, but I hope that they might consider adding mauled by bear onto their list of qualifying conditions, because I really think this guy deserves it.
Yeah, mauled by bear. I think anyone who's mauled by a bear should be able to get a medical marijuana card just for that. And despite what the appellants thought on this situation, bears don't particularly hate marijuana. Equal opportunity mauler. Yeah, it's not like the bear was like, stupid pothead. Come on now. When a bear mauls you, it's because he's a freaking bear. That's what bears do. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Thanks for that. And of course, we're always looking forward to any of these stories. If you hear, especially these stories about animals, I love bringing these up. The Canadian guard bears, the guard gators, the dogs that we do stories on all the time. If you got any stories that you want to let us know about, you can always send us an email at stash@normal.org, and that helps us to find the stories and to get the stuff that you want to hear about here on the show. Thanks, Cannabis Carrie, for an always great news segment. As we're moving on here, I want to introduce a new segment here on the show where I'm kind of interested, now that we've got the NORML network going, to show the class and the high society appeal that we might have here within the cannabis community. You know, we play a lot of rap music and we play, rock and roll, and we play a bunch of stuff that appeals to a younger generation. And then, of course, we got the Viper Hour that plays the old classic reefer jazz. But I want to make sure that we're reaching out to our upper crust, more elite cannabis smokers out there. So in that service, we've enlisted the services of the Royal Shakespeare Cannabis Theater Company, a fantastic acting troupe out of Portland, Oregon here, and they will be performing some classic pieces for you from time to time here on NORML Show Live. Let's turn it over to the Royal Shakespeare Cannabis Theater Company for their latest episode.
And now, another episode episode of Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre. I'm your host, Leonard Pinth-Garnell III. Tonight we revel in the hilarity of acquiring cannabis when miscommunication occurs between the cannabis delivery service and the consumer. The Royal Shakespearean Cannabis Theatre Company presents the classic David's Not Present piece, made famous by Richard Merrin and Thomas Chong. Enjoy.
Hark! Who goes there?
It is I, David. Pray grant me immediate passage, good sir. I come bearing a package of great import.
Hark! Who goes there?
It is I, David, as I previously informed you. Make haste in unlatching this portal, for I believe the constable hath cast his visage upon me. I bring you the package you seek.
'Tis David?
Affirmative, my good man. 'Tis David. Now open this door forthwith.
David's not present.
For Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre, I'm Leonard Pinth-Garnell III.
I think it's time for a break.
Definitely time for a break. That Leonard Pinth-Garnell, that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, where's that from? We'll have to figure that out. Let's smoke one and figure it out. Be right back.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support NORML Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would send you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
USVI normal go broke down barrier. Herb is medicine to broke down barrier. Boost the economy and broke down barrier. It's helping other states broke down barrier. Cannabis for legalized to broke down barrier. Join and speak your voice broke down barrier. We gonna change the law broke down barrier. We got to educate broke down barrier. Yeah, this is Nayora, you know, bigging up USVI normal. Working to legalize cannabis, for the whole of the Virgin Islands.
USVI NORML is a non-profit organization working to legalize cannabis for the use by the industries and responsible adults. Do your part. Join USVI NORML. Register to vote. Pass the word. Voice your opinion. You can change the law. Contact us for more information at 340-244-9179. You can also visit our website at www.usvinorml.org.
NORML Show Live reminds you to never consent to a search. If you're holding and you consent, in most states you will be arrested immediately and you will go to jail. If you don't consent to a search, police may try to intimidate you by threatening to bring in drug-sniffing dogs or try to fool you by saying things will go easier if you consent. Yeah, easier for them, sure. Stand your ground, refuse the search, and ask the officer if you're free to go. If they still detain you and eventually find your contraband, you'll be no more busted than if you had allowed the search. But by refusing the search, your attorney has a chance to win your acquittal before a judge. If you consent to the search, your attorney's hands are tied. You can find a list of NORML Legal Committee attorneys specializing in marijuana cases by visiting the Find a Lawyer link at norml.org.
It's time for your Daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420-friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Our PodSafe music is donated by freedom-loving musicians who support our goal of ending adult marijuana prohibition. Today we take you into the weekend with Rockin' Friday, our segment featuring the best rock, metal, punk, and jam band music, brought to you by Herb Thrasher at herbthrasher.com. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now, here's some great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes. Oh, you know him, you love him. He's of the metal, by the metal, for the metal. It's our own Herb Thrasher. What's up?
What's up, guys? Made of metal. That's what I like to say.
Made of metal. He's Iron Man.
That's right. How's it going in the chat room today? Everyone rocking?
Everybody's ready to rock.
Good, good. Yeah, I just wanted to take this time also to remind you guys, tell your friends, you guys in bands that, we want to play you guys. We're always looking for new tunes. A lot of times we have to go back. These rockin' tunes, we're going backwards. which is a good thing. There's a lot of great classics out there, but you know, we like new tunes too, and we want to promote you guys and play good stuff. And so you could always contact me at my herbthrasher.com website, or email Russ, email the show. But you know, send us your requests, send us your band, let us know, and we'll play you guys.
Right on.
So on that note, we have a great band today. Another great one with a name. You know, it's just loud and proud. Greenleaf, and so I just tell you right off the bat, we're here, we smoke, and we rock. And so if that's what you say, we like to play you.
Right on.
So sometimes the best things aren't made, they just happen. A simple mixture of good friends drinking beer, burning some patties, and discussing the music that mattered to them, and generally having a good old-fashioned rock and roll time. That pretty much sums up Greenleaf and birth into the stoner rock ambient metal world. Making it happen with a grueling schedule of other projects, a 4-song EP was quickly recorded in 2000, followed by 2001's full-length Revolution Rock and a slew of European tour dates. Although Greenleaf is not a full-time band and seldom plays shows due to the band members' obligations to Dozier and other bands, Greenleaf has a reputation as an amazing live band with everyone giving it their all at absolutely every show. Greenleaf from Sweden, signed to Small Stone Records, can be described as Kiss meets Black Sabbath meets ZZ Top meets Pink Floyd.
Wow.
The song 10,000 Years Revolution is a great example of what can happen when friends don't stop friends from smoking weed, drinking beer, and jamming. So kick back, fire up some Greenleaf, enjoy some Greenleaf, and turn it up. Rock. You can always find these guys out on their MySpace page at Greenleaf Heavy Rock. And turn it up, rock on, have a great weekend.
All right, horns up, everybody. It's Greenleaf with 10,000 Years of Revolution.
Whoa.
minutes of the Stash blog by surfing to stash.normal.org and choosing media, and then Toker Tunes from the main menu.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527. This is NORML Show Live.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years. They've got mandatory sentences, and these judges just say, they throw up their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. There's mandatory sentences. We've got to take a look at what we're considering crimes.
When the Reverend Pat Robertson from television's The 700 Club
criminalizing marijuana, criminalizing the possession of a few ounces of pot and that kind of thing, I mean, it's just
makes more sense on the marijuana issue than the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court.
It's costing us a fortune, and it's ruining young people. The young people go into prisons, they come out, they go in as youths, and they come out as hardened criminals, and it's not a good thing.
You know we're winning.
Quite contrary. How does her garden grow? Don't ask me. I'm just the voiceover guy. Ask High Times Senior Cultivation Editor Danny Danko in our NORML Show Live's Cultivators Corner.
Oh, yeah, here we are. It's the end of the month, the last Friday of the month at least, and that means we visit with Danny Danko out there in Brooklyn, New York from High Times Magazine. Danny, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Russ. Hi, John. Hi, guys.
Having a good time so far, man. I know that next weekend, the 2nd and 3rd, you got the Medical Cannabis Cup going on in Denver. I'll bet you're really busy leading up to that.
Yeah, it's been quite incredible. We have Kid Cudi performing that Saturday night at the VIP party, so, there's been a huge amount of interest, and the 2-day expo is going to be pretty awesome, too. We've got a bunch of vendors. We've got a compliance puffing area, and I think it's going to be really, really incredible weekend. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, I know. We were at the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup, the first one in San Francisco last year, both Ganja John and I. How are things going to be different, or are they going to be different since you're doing it in Denver?
Well, they are slightly different. Denver has not had the medical law for as long, so there's a few more regulations. But we've got, a lot of the main lawyers out there for Colorado Medical involved to make sure, everything's above board and on the up and up as far as, handling the samples and all that. And I think it's going to be very similar. I mean, there's an expo, there's booths. We've got food provided by Chiba Hut, actually, which should be pretty cool. Yeah. So we're excited about that. It should be a really awesome time, and I definitely recommend people get their tickets in advance rather than try to get them at the door, because we have a really smooth way of getting people through if they bought them in advance. And if they're waiting in the pay ticket line, it might take them a little bit longer to get in and start checking things out.
Yeah, I know they're still picking up pieces of gray matter in San Francisco from when John's mind was blown. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, we had the hash bar and stuff. And so, if anybody wants more information, just go to medcancup.com. It's medcancup.com. And we've got information there about Denver coming up this weekend, as well as information about the next San Francisco Cup, which is coming up in late June. And if they're interested, we're also doing a grow clinic in Montana, and that's in the beginning of May. And information on that is available at hightimes.com/growclinic. So, and that's in Missoula, Montana.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm going to be covering that for the show, guys, so look out for that in the future.
Yeah, there's been some interesting things going on, including some raids that happened just in the past couple of weeks in Montana. So, we're a little wary, of course, but at the same time, I'm excited to make sure that patients and caregivers and, dispensary owners all learn, how to improve the quality of their cannabis if they can. And the other thing is I have a quick, short little rant, if I could.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I mean, basically in the past week I've gotten, my book was rejected from eBay for encouraging illegal activity.
That's right.
And we periodically get these letters from prisons where it says, an inmate has tried to subscribe to the magazine or he's bought an issue, and we get these publication rejection letters. And the wording on this is interesting. It says the above named publication has been rejected because it describes how to grow marijuana in multiple types of indoor and outdoor applications. It also shows how to manufacture marijuana cigarettes and sell them, which I don't know where they got that from, but
yeah.
I don't know that we do that. But
no.
This magazine is considered objectionable and detrimental to the security and orderly running of the institution. And so I'm wondering, if magazines are the biggest danger in this prison, is this warden really paying attention to what's really going on back there? Because, there's people running around with shivs and, hard drugs and all kinds of crazy stuff. And meanwhile, this warden is sitting around taking the time to type out a letter of rejection over something that's just photographs and words. And I just wonder why they're so afraid of a few words. It's really incredible. The eBay thing says that these are items that encourage, promote, facilitate, or instruct others to engage in illegal activities on eBay. And I don't know. It seems weird to me. Like, these people are really honestly just afraid of descriptions of flowers.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the book banning is in full effect. It's completely arbitrary as far as what gets flagged and what doesn't. And it's just this really strange, weird gray area where it's okay to ban books and it's okay to, not allow people the right of information and within their First Amendment right to free speech. So that's my rant.
I'm glad you brought it up, Danny, because we brought it up yesterday too. High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, and that eBay was banning this. I was joking, and it's not really a joke. I'm going to do it. I'm making an ad for your book where I go, banned by eBay. The book too hot for you know what I'm saying?
Hot for the internet.
Yeah, and that's the ironic thing is that over the sale of one book, I've managed to get a ton of publicity. My Amazon rankings went higher. I probably sold a few books just in the course of this controversy, and so it's not like I'm upset about it. It just seems so
arbitrary.
Odd,
It's a book full of pictures of flowers. My God, pictures of flowers, Danny.
And somehow
you could put someone's eye out with this.
Somehow that's dangerous in prison.
Yeah.
I don't know how you fold up a magazine into something that could be dangerous. But,
yeah. That's an amazing
that's what's
thing.
been determined. So it's just, and the other thing I would say is these raids and things that have been going on are giving me kind of the indication that we're losing some of our momentum that we've gained in the past couple of years, and that the pendulum seems to be swinging in the other direction. And I just want to implore everybody to just stay on it, keep active, get political, join NORML, do whatever it is you can to, get people like Mark Emery out of prison.
Yeah.
And just, keep the fight going, because we can't slack up. They're obviously still fighting us tooth and nail. So, even though, we're not as dangerous as I think they think we are, let's make them think we are.
There we go. All right, we're going to go to the phones here and start picking up some calls here for Danny Danko on our Cultivator's Corner. The phone line's 971-533-7111. I want to remind you, when you call in, turn down your computer, because we can hear the loop and it's very distracting. And that goes out to our caller that's dialing right now from the 817 area code, 817. You're on the air. What's your question for Danny Danko?
Hi, yes, sir. Sorry about the loop there. Danny, big fan here out in Fort Worth, West Word. I'd really like a straight, serious answer as far as legalization, moving forward, the next step. I'm a forward thinker, and I want to know what you think about reparations for the victims of pot prohibition, for at least record expungements, for, I don't know, like I said, the next step forward. What do you think as far as, the massive bill of that?
I'm all for reparations. Realistically, I'm not sure that, we're going to get that. I'm all for it. I think, anyone who's in jail for a nonviolent marijuana crime should be released immediately. And, the fact that they've been taken away from their families for all these years, I don't know that you can even repair that with financial, incentives. But at the same time, people definitely deserve something for spending time in jail over flowers. And, how can you have reparations for all the dogs that they've shot and all the people whose homes they've invaded and families that they've torn apart? I mean, at the very least, ending the violence and ending the war on pot would go a long way to just making sure that doesn't happen to anybody else. But as far as the people who've already been caught up and ground up in the mill, it's going to be difficult to get them any actual compensation for that. But, I'm all for it.
Yeah, people have talked about reparations for slavery, and those haven't come around. So I don't know if this will come around very soon either. All right, we have another call coming in from the 501 area code. 510 area code. I'm a bit dyslexic. What's your question for Danny Danko?
Hi, I have a couple questions that are kind of related. For hydroponics, there's different formulas for flowering and for vegetation. When do you switch the formula? When you switch the lights, or when it starts to flower, or later?
I believe in sort of a transitionary period between vegetative and flowering. So vegetative nutrients typically are higher on the nitrogen side, and flowering nutrients have more phosphorus and potassium. And so after you switch to the vegetative cycle and now you've gone to 12 hours on and 12 hours off, the plant is not actually going to start flowering for a week or so, actually showing flowers. So during that period, you really don't need to pump it with too much phosphorus and potassium. So I would go with that first week or so with a mild veg and flowering mix that's transitional. Still has a little bit of nitrogen, and you're sort of introducing the flowering nutrients to the plants at that time. And then after you start seeing the little puff balls start forming and the flowers are really starting to, form on top of each other, that's when you really want to go to the straight flowering mix. And
and then kind of related to that, there's some metal halide lights that are for flowering and some are for vegetation. One's more redshifted.
Most people prefer halides for vegetative and high-pressure sodiums for flowering, but I have seen plants flowered under metal halides that did just fine.
Well, the question is, should you use the flowering one at same issue? When you switch the lights, or at the time, or when it starts to flower, or should you just do those?
As long as you're transitioning to flowering. You might as well, as soon as you switch the lighting, if you have different lighting for vegetative and flowering, you can switch to the flowering one right when you switch to the 12-12. And, that's the same time that you're switching the nutrients as well. I would just say that, stay mild with the flowering nutrients during that first week.
Great, thank you.
All right, great questions. And again, the phone lines are open at 971-533-7111 if you've got questions for Danny Danko. And we got some questions from our chat room that we're going to get to here as well. Pookie's got a great question. Says, a friend of mine always goes through his seeds and tries to crack them open with his finger. He says that any that break wouldn't have grown anyway. I think he's just destroying a perfectly good seed. What's your opinion?
It's funny. A lot of my grow questions always begin with a friend of mine. It's a perfect way to start a grow question.
Yeah.
My friend does this or my friend does that. I like that one. But I would just say that I think if you're putting them under undue pressure to if they'll crack, you might as well, I think, try to pop them, and see if they'll grow. I don't really believe in crushing them or trying to pop them open. I think, inevitably you might be weaning out a few damaged seeds, but I think you could possibly be damaging a bunch of them yourself by doing it. So I wouldn't recommend it. And I see Pookie in the chat room says, it is not me. I didn't mean to imply I didn't mean to imply that it was. I just found it to be funny just because I hear that a lot. And sometimes I just assume that it is the person.
No, of course it wasn't Pookie. She knows better. She listens to Normal Show Live, right? All right, let's get another question. This is Anonymous asking, I added CO2 to my bud room, and now my plants are too tall. They are all the way to the ceiling. Can I top them in the mid-bud cycle with about 6 weeks left to go without harming my harvest?
I definitely don't recommend topping plants at that far along into the flowering stage. In fact, any time during the flowering stage, I think it's really going to affect your yield in the end in a negative manner. But there's ways that you can, sort of bend branches without breaking them and give yourself a little more space. I'm not sure if it's the CO2 that made the plants stretch out in the first place. I mean, CO2 does increase plant growth, but it shouldn't really contribute too much to a stretch. It could be that the lights are too far away from the plant tops or for some other reason. But if that's already a problem, I would say Soma's method of just sort of lightly rubbing the branches between your fingers until you sort of hear, not a crack, but just kind of, you can feel a little bit of a crunching in the stem, and then you can sort of bend them over to a 90-degree angle, and you definitely give yourself a good foot or two more of space that way, and the plant will very quickly adjust to where the light is and all that.
All right. Question here from 420 Gardener wants to know, what is the best way to mark your clones from cutting to harvest? I have a couple of strains, but I keep getting them all confused.
Well, a lot of times people use all kinds of ways to mark their strains. There's little flags you can put in the pots. Sometimes people will write the name straight on the pot with a piece of white tape or something. The problem with that is that, if you're watering the pot frequently and you don't have very permanent markings, you could actually remove the markings. So, it's an important thing to mark all your clones, all your seedlings, and even take notes as to their growth and flowering times and all of that. Most of the best growers that I've met typically keep a journal on hand with basically all the information that they could collect about their different strains. And so they're constantly trying to either improve in a certain way and keeping very meticulous records of what is what, because the bad part comes in when you find something really incredible and you have no way of knowing exactly what it is. It makes it more difficult. It kind of makes it more confusing for the consumers and everybody when things get mixed up like that.
Mm-hmm. We're speaking with Danny Danko, Senior Cultivation Editor for High Times Magazine and the author of the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, the book Too Hot for eBay. We've got time for a few more questions here for our chat room. Danny's got to run here pretty early, but we'll get just a couple more in here. Great question here for those of us that are, concerned about the environment and, recycling and such. Do you have any ideas for throwing away outdated bulbs? I know they have mercury in them, and my local grow shop didn't have any response to the question. Growers must have this problem elsewhere. What do you do with old bulbs?
A lot of grow shops will take the old bulbs, or you can send them back to the manufacturer once they're finished, and the manufacturer will dispose of them properly. It's definitely not a good idea to just toss used grow bulbs into your trash. A, because like you said, there's mercury and harmful vapors and stuff inside there that'll escape if they get cracked. And B, because you don't want people going through your trash and finding grow bulbs.
Yeah.
So always dispose of that stuff properly. And it's also an issue with growers out using chemical nutrients and just pumping those into their sinks or toilets and stuff, because that also gets out there into the lakes and rivers and oceans and stuff. So growers should be very conscientious about the environmental factors of their grows. And as I noticed here, Canadude in in the chat room says that local dumps usually have bulb recycling. So that's for fluorescents, for high-pressure sodiums, for metal halides, anything that might have harmful vapors or gases or metals inside. You can bring those to your local dump, and no questions asked. Usually they'll get rid of it for you.
Oh, fantastic!
So
and
thanks to Canada too for that, because I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, thanks, Canada, and that's good advice for lots of things. Car batteries, oil from your oil changes, old computer monitors, the CRT types and the LCD types. I mean, computer parts are laden with all sorts of stuff. So yeah, look into that at your local landfill, their recycling programs, and take some other stuff with you while you go. All right, let's get a couple more.
Yeah, and and preferably just grow outdoors under the
there we go.
The big grow bulb in the sky.
There we go. Well, that's what we're working on. We'll get this legal, and then we can use all that energy that's outside nice and free and clean, and suck up some CO2 while we're doing it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get this anonymous question. Another one, Danny. A friend of mine is growing marijuana and just got a bunch of new seeds. What is the fastest way to sex the plants?
Well, if they're non-feminine seeds, meaning that they could be male or female when they pop, you got to grow them out. You got to germinate them and grow them to a certain height. I would say, somewhere between 6 and 12 or so, depending on the strain. You want about three nodes before you top them. But at that point, you take a cutting from those seedlings and you label them very carefully. Plant A, plant B. Plant A, cutting A. Plant B, cutting B. And you flower the cutting instead of actually flowering the plant. So actually you root the clone, and then you flower that out, and that clone will tell you everything you need to know about that corresponding plant. So you'll know the sex of it, and you'll also get an idea of what kind of bud you're going to get out of it. You're not going to get a lot of bud out of that little clone. It's really just an indicator to tell you what the corresponding plant, how it will behave and what its sex is. Then you can turn around and say, okay, well, clone A is a female, clone B is a male, so get rid of plant B, keep plant A as a mother plant, and you can safely take cuttings of that as long as you know it's not herming out and it's a female. That becomes a mother plant that you can take clones off of at will. Or if you're interested in just flowering that one out, you can do that as well.
Yeah, and how long does this process is it going to take you before you know?
Well, let's see. You got to germinate the plant and get that up to about, like the 8 to 10 inches or so. So that's going to be, a couple of weeks, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, about a month, and then root the cutting and flower that. So, rooting the clone is going to take you a week to 2 weeks probably, and then flowering that out another, typically about 60 days. So, you're looking at about 3.5 months before you know. But during that time, those plant A and plant B are actually growing in their vegetative stage. So they have, that 2.5 months or so to get much larger, so that when you do choose to either flower them out or use them as mother plants, you'll have a very well-established, nice-sized plant at that point.
All right.
I'd say about 3 months from germination.
Okay. And last question, what is your recommended time of flowering in weeks?
Well, the flowering weeks are typically based on the strain that you have. Indicas have a shorter flowering time, anywhere between 45 to about 60, 65 days, and then sativas are usually anywhere between 60 days to 90 or more, with some of the more extreme ones. And I also want to clarify, if that person with those seeds, if they just plant those seeds and they don't take the clone off of them and flower them, they're going to know the sex much sooner, but they're also not going to be able to hold on to those plants as mother plants for future use. So if you're just doing the one-time grow and you grow them out to the size that you want, let's say you veg them for 3 weeks or so, after that, after you flower them, you should know their sex. Basically within 2 weeks or so, you'll be able to see whether they're male banana-type flowers hanging down, or females with the white hair sticking out. So I just wanted to clarify that in case it was just kind of a one-time grow from seed.
Right. Okay. Well, Danny Danko is the senior cultivation editor for High Times Magazine, author of the High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains. It's pocket size, tells you everything you need to know about marijuana strains to identify them in the field or in other ways. Everything you want to know, it's right here. Too hot for eBay. Get it while you can. Danny, I know you got to run. You're getting ready for all that MedCan Cup stuff. We appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you next month.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys, and keep up the great work.
All right, we're going to say goodbye to Danny and take a break here with the Cannabis Shakespearean Theater. They have another fantastic performance for us, and we'll be right back with a little bit of news to round up the show.
And now, another episode of Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre. I'm your host, Leonard Pinth-Garnell III. Tonight we take a look at one of the finest works in the cannabis cinema, 1996's Half-Baked, starring David Chappelle, as interpreted by the Royal Shakespearean Cannabis Theatre Company. In this scene, Chappelle's character, Thurgood Marshall, has just admitted his addiction to cannabis to a room full of narcotics addicts. One addict, played in the film by Robert Saget and interpreted here by the Royal Company's Sir Frederick Farrach, takes umbrage at the suggestion.
I find preposterous the notion that you, sir, may be addicted to cannabis. In times previous, I have undertaken lubricious endeavors, most revolting and unbecoming of a proper gentleman, in my servitude to the wicked powder of the coca leaf. Lo, that is an addiction whose chains would bind Hercules. At any point in history, could one identify a moment in your life so sullied by your ignominy as a cannabis slave? Methinks not. Boo this man!
For Cannabis Shakespearean Theatre, I'm Leonard Pinth-Garnell III.
I feel more upper crust already.
You should.
Listening to the Cannabis Shakespearean Theater. It's a wonderful thing. I'm sure we'll have many, many more of them from our new contributor, Leonard Pinth-Garnell III.
Yeah. Thank you, Leonard.
Anybody who doesn't get the Leonard Pinth-Garnell reference, ask some of the older folks in the chat or email John at NORML.org. He'll explain it to you. Folks, as we go out here, I have some great news for our listeners north of the border, and up there in the Great White North, great stuff coming out of Canadian politics. This is on time.com right now. Toronto, opposition topples Canadian government. Canadian opposition parties toppled Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government in a no-confidence vote Friday, triggering the country's fourth election in 7 years. The opposition parties held the Conservative government in contempt of Parliament in a 156 to 145 vote for failing to disclose the full financial details of his tougher crime legislation, corporate tax cuts, and plans to purchase stealth fighter jets. By the way, some of that tougher crime legislation was that S10, that Senate bill. They wanted to have mandatory minimum sentences in Canada because, it worked so great here. Yeah. It did wonders here. Nobody smokes pot in America anymore.
No,
mandatory minimum sentences, by God. The timepiece continues. Opinion polls expect Harper's Conservative Party to win re-election, but not a majority, meaning he likely will continue to govern with a minority in Parliament, dependent on opposition votes to stay afloat. But in the latest twist, there is a chance the left of center parties might join forces in a coalition. The election is expected to take place on May 2nd. And for those of you in the States that don't quite understand some of that stuff, in a parliamentary system, what they've got going on there, quite different than the American government system. In our governmental system, it's kind of winner takes all, right? If the Republicans win the majority, they get to run the House. If the Republicans win the majority, they get to run the Senate, right? It's pretty much, and they can ram things through on party line votes and such. In Canada and other parliamentary democracies, you have a situation where you have many parties. It's interesting how you notice in America, we pretty much have two parties, Republican and Democrat, Coke and Pepsi, McDonald's and Burger King, we pretty much have two parties. But in these parliamentary democracies, they end up having many parties that represent many different points of view, because in the parliamentary system, even if you're a minority, you can form coalitions with other blocs, and with those coalitions form a majority. So it includes many more voices in the debate, and you get many more types of parties involved here. So this could be very good news for our friends in Canada to try to derail this conservative government of Stephen Harper and his reefer madness up there, trying to employ American drug war techniques to Canada. So kudos to those of you who pulled off the contempt of Parliament vote, and we'll get more information from our Canadian listeners, I'm sure. Maybe they can fill us in a little bit more in Hour 2 on what's going on there. For those of you listening live, stay tuned for Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio with me and Ganja John, Kaliko the Intern, and Cannabis Carrie. And for those of you listening on podcast, we'll talk to you next week on the NORML Network. Listen all day long. You're going to learn something. We'll see you later. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it on one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.